Hi, it is Evelyn, Heart and Soul with Evelyn. This is day 21 of my 77 day live video challenge. And I thought today I am going to talk about high school, that period in our life, from 13 to 19, where we were teenagers, our hormones were out of control. We're trying to figure out who we are, where we fit in, and the like. So during this time, well, I'm only going to talk about the last 2.5 years. So that was half my sophomore year up until senior year. I was going to Ellison High in Killeen, Texas. And I just want to share those memories from that time period. Now, most of us, we worked. We had our little sort of jobs. I worked at Gibson's, which was a store like Kmart. I sold cashew nuts and popcorn. I think that's where my love of cashew nuts developed, was working at Gibson's in Killeen. I also did work at Kmart in the automotive department, which I thought was so weird. I didn't know anything about cars, but I was working at the automotive department, and I worked at Dairy Queen, and that was one of my favorite jobs. I loved working at Dairy Queen. And I also worked at a convenience store called Mickey's. This was all in Killeen. Another thing that we liked to do after high school, remember this was the 80s. I graduated from Ellison High in 83. So this was the early 80s. So, the internet wasn't around. We had to call each other. There were, we had to plan things. One thing is we like to hang out at a place called Mission Taco. And I remember when we hung out there, we liked to play games at the arcade. We loved Pac-Man. That was a fun game to play. Remember Pac-Man? Now, Pac-Man came out in 19. It originally came out in 1980, beginning of 1980, and in Japan, and it was originally called Pac-Man. But interesting. I'm glad it didn't stay with Pac-Man. That would have been too hard to say. So Pac-Man was totally fine. And then, of course, there was a game that was called Galaga. We played that on the arcade as well. So it was an interesting time. Like, we did really simple things. There were drive-in theaters that we would go to. We would hang out at the mall, go shopping, and then also it was the introduction of drinking alcohol. Remember that? The peer pressure of drinking alcohol. Maybe there wasn't any peer pressure. Maybe we actually liked it. But I remember the interesting alcohol that we were drinking. It was Boone's Farm. And I think it was also called Mad Dog as well. So some of my high school friends, if you're watching, remind me of what the name of the alcohol was. Now, the drinking age during the early 80s in Texas was actually 19. Was 19 in the early 80s. But then it was changed in 1984. President Reagan, he changed the law, the National Minimum Drinking Age Act, was changed in 1984 to 21. So, but in high school, of course, I wasn't 19, and we lived near base, so we were able to always ask. I know it sounds horrible, but we always asked a GI or someone if they could actually buy us some alcohol, which they did. So also in during high school, it's that time where we tried cigarettes. Some of us even probably tried drugs if we could, and or if we found it anywhere. But cigarettes was a big deal in high school. I kind of remember that, and for some reason, I know it sounds horrible, but I really liked menthol cigarettes. I don't know, that coolness. It's so bad for you, but when I was young, trying things out, alcohol and stuff, I did like a menthol cigarette. There you go. But of course, smoking cigarettes in Texas at that time, the legal age to buy was 18 in the 80s. And in 2019, Texas raised the age to buy cigarettes to 21. So times have definitely changed. So I thought I would share some things that I got up to when I was in high school. Like, we didn't have social media. We had to call each other on the phone the night before, or basically talk and figure out what we're going to do to meet up. But we did get up to naughty things, and we trying new things. We were teenagers after all. So smoking was a thing, and also drinking alcohol any way we could get the alcohol. I wasn't into drugs, but I know I knew a lot of people in high school who did try the drugs out. I know it's totally different now, but that's kind of what we got up to in the 80s. And I thought this would be the next few days. I'll be talking about high school a little bit more. And tomorrow I am going to cover music, the music we listened to, and the fashion sense that we had at the time. So we did drink alcohol. We tried alcohol. Of course, the cheap stuff, Boone's Farm and Mad Dog, was something that I sort of kind of remember. If you have any high school memories of the things that you tried out, which, maybe you don't want to admit to, but hey, just what sort of alcohol or did you try, and what were the interesting things that you did while you were in high school? Maybe it was a bit boring, but we also like to play, games as well. We met at restaurants and just it was just different. Times were different back then, but I enjoyed it. So hey, any memories, please share. And this is day 21, Heart and Soul with Evelyn. And thank you so much. I'm so grateful.